It was in the year of 1899 when a group of Christian Negro men and women decided to form a school to teach their children the 3 R's. Most of these new citizens were former slaves who had been emancipated in January 1863. Most of them could not read or write. They were determined their children would not be brought up the same as they were.
Did you attend at the segregation school?
What now? I ain't quite hear you.
Did you attend at the segregation school?
Yes.
Did segregation schools have any activities with each other?
Yes. At school I went to. Because I went to school in Locksburg, Arkansas. Everyone know everyone.
How were the white and black interaction at the integration school in your areas, fights or friendship?
Well, with my school in Elmray in 1969, that was our first time going to the white school. Everybody was friends because because in the summertime we played baseball against each other, and so everybody practically know everyone.
What were your reaction when you heard the blacks could go to school with the whites?
Well, I was glad. And, it didn't bother me because, like I say, we all were playing with each other before we integrated, and so at my school, it wasn't no problem.
Do you have any personal experience with segregation?
Personal experience? Well, like like I say, yes, because most people I was with, the white guys, we played on the basketball team together, and then played baseball together, and so it wasn't no problem.
We're rolling.
Do you have any personal experience with desegregation?
Yeah, in 1967 we did partial desegregation. I guess it was kind of like an experiment. I had one girl that was in my class in 67, 68 when we graduated that had come over from Little River County Training School. And I guess it was a year after that or the years following that segregation just completely took over. But we didn't have any experience with it prior to that. In 1966, 67, it was all white at Ashdown High School. It was all black at Little River County Training School, which was across town. So I had no experience with it, with total integration while I was in school, just partial integration.
What was your reaction when you heard black could go to school with whites?
It really didn't matter to me. I was raised not to see black, white, and brown. It just was something that I thought should probably happen because I thought that the education process, I thought everybody was entitled to the best education that they could possibly get. And so I remember the deal in Little Rock, and I remember the reaction to some of the whites in, and I thought some of the pictures that were taken that they could see today, and I wonder if some of those people even look back and think, should I be embarrassed at the way that I acted? And it was a total embarrassment when the Little Rock segregation came about, and I think they called it the Little Rock 9 or whatever. But I really didn't have a big reaction to it because my parents had taught me not to put people in boxes as far as who they were. I'm kind of like Dr. King. I look at the character of a person more than I do the color.
How were the white/black
What's the question? It's just tape. Let me look at it. I don't have
I just messed up on camera.
It's so good. You can use the color.
Okay. How How were white/black interaction at the integration school at your area? Fights or friendship?
I didn't understand the question.
How were white/black interaction at the integration school in your area? Fights or friendships?
I think there was some. I think the question is, was there a lot of friction between blacks and whites? Is that what you're asking me?
Yes, sir.
There was some. I think the year that I graduated, when there wasn't very many blacks, I think it was a pretty easy transition. That we all got along. I mean, you don't have to be best friends with somebody, black or white, if you're both white or both black or black and white. But you always try to get along, and I think that's what we accomplished that first year. I don't know how it went when it was total integration, but I know that first year partial integration, that I got along very well with a young lady that was in our class, and there were several in the class below us and more in the classes below that, and all 6th grades, 7 through 12, came here to this one school. And I think the transition proved itself to be pretty fruitful, and I think we all tried to get along. I probably got along less with the white guys and the white girls than I did with the blacks that were here. It was a smooth transition, and I don't think there was much friction at all.
Were there any places where whites and non-whites mixed?
Were there places where whites and blacks mixed? There was, I'll just tell you this, that when I was growing up, I remember going into supermarkets, and at the back of the store there were water fountains, and one would say whites only, and the other ones it wouldn't say blacks, it would say colored. And I never understood what colored meant. I thought colored was red, blue, green, and yellow. But and at the cafe, where biggest cafe here in town, the whites ate in the front, and the blacks had a room in the back. And at the theater downtown where I worked as a projectionist, the whites sat downstairs, the blacks sat in the balcony, and never did mix. And there were certain other restaurants in town where there was only one dining room where blacks weren't allowed at all. And I always kind of wondered about that, why. But I know at that one big cafe, I would go down after a date on Friday or Saturday night and sit in the front, and I could hear what was going on in the back, and I said I'd rather be back there because it sounded like they're having a good time. But yeah, there was a lot. Even after the total segregation in school, I think there were places that were, if I had gone in certain places, I would not have been accepted. And I think that there were places where blacks went that if they walked into a certain place, that they would not have been accepted. There was a time in my church where if a black would have walked in, there would have been certain people that would have gone, you can't do that. But we have, especially on Wednesday night in children and in 412, which is a teenager deal, there's blacks that come there, there are blacks that come to worship with us, and I feel good about that. I don't ever want our church to change to be what it wasn't designed to be, but change is evident, and I've accepted that pretty well. And I think that with the teenagers, especially in high school, like you guys are, that you have never known the difference between being with blacks and being with whites. So I think it's more accepted nowadays that you're together a lot, and you don't see the difference like my generation does. I'm just making a line between blacks and whites. So Brown was a school over there, and we were a school over here, but there was a separation. between us. And I had a lot of black friends that, not girls but guys, that we didn't necessarily hang out, but we knew each other, and hey, how you doing? We'd talk about stuff and work together sometimes at different jobs and had drag races together. So yeah, there was not a total mingling in my generation of what was accepted, and there were still a lot of pure racists and bigots out there, and I'm sure there's some of those around today, but it's becoming more and more rare. I think that Dr. King's dream is coming more to reality, but it just didn't come as fast as what he had hoped it would.
Do you have any personal experience with segregation?
My only personal experience with integration was partial integration, like I said, in 1967, 68. There was one young lady that came over here, and I wouldn't say that I felt sorry for her, but I know she felt out of place. And I don't know why there was only one person that came over from Brown to Ashdown High School, but I don't remember anybody mistreating her or saying even racial slurs or anything to her. But I guess I was empathetic toward her pain, and it wasn't that she came to school every day and just cried or just was just really sad, but I know she felt a little out of place, and so I did feel for her. I didn't feel sorry for her, but and she was a good student. She made good grades, and that was my only experience with integration, was partial.
The Little River County Training School is now on the National Registration of Historical Place. It is located at Ashdown, Arkansas, in Little River County.
The campus consists of a classroom building, a gymnasium, and a shop building.
The first Little River County Training School was built in 1923 and 1924.
It was initially a Rosenwald school, a program set up to support the cause of black education in the South. Julius Rosenwald, founder of Sears, set up the program.
Ashdown Schools was one of the several created by the Rosenwood program.
This property is of significance because of the history associated with it. The Little River Training School was the center of African American education and integrated education. From 1962 to 1965, until the campus stopped being used in 1979, these buildings are the last pieces of evidence alluding to the legacy of African American education in Little River County during the 1960s.
In 1964, the county began institutions for the construction of new schools building for both whites and black.
These buildings included a gym cafeteria, a library, and a reworking the high school building for the black schools. Later, due to need for a junior high school, an integrated elementary school was built, and the Little River County Training School was renamed Brown Junior High School.
The Brown School was burnt in 1979, and it was decided not to be repaired. Therefore, in 1979, the school was abandoned.
Following this abandonment, former faculty and students formed the Little River County Training School Alumni Association for the purposes of preserving their heritage and for beginning the process of restoring the abandoned school for use as a community center.